So how I think about this is I've coined it the everything, everywhere, all at once cycle. So most of the key technologies have been in place for a while now.
Yeah.
In terms of the applications layer, but it's the adoption of the applications layer, the adoption of NFTs by giant corporate brands, the adoption of blockchain rails for a whole bunch of different things, from traditional finance of putting, equities or derivatives or whatever on chain. I think that is coming. I think we are going to see, with stuff like Solana being able to create 1 million NFTs for $100. Well, that means ticketing or any high frequency contractual stuff can happen. We're seeing Visa build on top of that. We're seeing massive speed increases again in Solana, where we've got Fire Dancer that has 1 million TPS. So that means high frequency trading can happen. So, new centralized exchanges and the rails for the finance system, okay, that can go on chain. We're seeing large corporate brands building using NFTs and other Web3 technologies. We're seeing the adoption via RAAs and the ETFs and other things. So we need to figure it out. But I'm very bullish NFTs, the right ones.
Yeah, and I guess it shows the importance of diversification, even just in NFTs, but the crypto world itself. You can never be 100% sure that any asset is only going to go in the direction that you want. Are there any particular crypto assets that you think are relatively unknown now that in a few years' time are going to be the next Solana or even the next Ethereum or Bitcoin?
I tend to shy away from talking about stuff like that because people accuse you of shilling stuff. And if it's small and a liquid, they say, see, he's pumping his bags, he's trying to do this. So I just don't talk about it. So, I talk a lot about Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, some of the major token plays, but I tend not to talk about any of the smaller stuff. And my own portfolio allocation tends to be 90% in the majors, in core holdings, and 10% is my degen bag of stuff that could 100x, but most likely goes to zero. Has been the best performing asset 3 out of 4 years, and the worst performing 1 out of 4 years, like clockwork. And I'm like, that kind of makes sense. Will it perfectly repeat every time? Who the hell knows? But that gives you a framework of understanding of the time horizon you need to trade the cycle. They tend to be 3 years. Now, you could be like me and try and look through the cycles and say, I don't care about the cycle because I'm looking for the 5 or 10 year bet. Okay, you can do that too. And then you change your style to, well, when we do get the inevitable cyclical bear market that comes and prices fall 75, 80%, you add to your positions. And then what you do is end up compounding returns over a longer cycle. And that works in technology stock, anything in a secular bull market, technology stocks, the Indian stock market, whatever it may be, it works. But that will change with better UX and applications.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, how early do you think we are in crypto? I mean, I spoke to someone about just a couple of years ago. It's actually a CEO of a cannabis company, and they were saying cannabis they think is like in the first quarter of an American football game. There's still a long way to go, all the regulation, etc., etc., etc. Do you think crypto in this journey that it's on, we're still in like the warm up phase, and like in 10 years' time, we're going to look back and think, wow, we've come so far?
I think that is the case, but don't forget, it is the fastest adoption of any technology the world has ever seen, except AI, which has now gone faster. So this is immensely fast. We're at 516 million active wallets around the world. Don't forget, we've got governments bringing central bank digital currencies on blockchain rails. Humanity does to organize itself is driven by contracts, social contracts. Like, I had a contract to come here. It was an email, but it was a written, contract between us. Yes, I'm going to appear at that sort of time. Blah blah blah. Everything we do is a contract. So a lot of this can go on chain. So that becomes very interesting because everything becomes provable. But they're also using it for logistics and supply management. And that's really interesting. Very interesting. Like, I spoke to a large family office in Australia who owns one of the largest distilleries and distributors in Australia for spirits. And they sell a lot into China. And they're like, we're experimenting with NFTs to see whether we can make NFTs of inventory, and
Yeah.
then we're going to start to have AR, and that's February the 2nd, I think, is Apple's AR glasses launch. And that creates an integration between the physical world and the digital world, where things become increasingly exchangeable in terms of experiences, what we do, how we think about things. And within those worlds, the metaverse, if you're going to a more digital world, then digital assets need to have scarcity. In a digital world, basically anything can go to zero in value because you can make infinite amounts of anything.
Yeah.
We've seen it with cloud compute. We've seen it with internet service providers. We've seen it with everything, right? Basically, it goes to zero. So if you have such a deflationary economy, it's impossible to run a digital economy. But if you think about what blockchains and NFTs do, they create digital scarcity in a world of infinite supply. So now you can anchor value. So that becomes an extremely interesting concept as well. And I ask people, because I know a lot of people are cynical about some of this stuff and technology investing, but I ask them a simple question. It's like, is the world going to be more digital in 5 years' time, less or the same? 96% of people said more digital.
Yeah.
That is the trend we're playing here. Will money become more digital? Will value become more digital? Will contracts go digital? Yes. Will it become more efficient over time by using blockchain rails versus like T+3 settlements for equities and stuff? Yes. Will people move towards more AI, more self-driving cars, more technology? Yes. So in which case, that sounds like a secular trend to me. So I know people are uncomfortable with societal change at the speed it's happening, uncomfortable moving from an old system to a new system. And I get it. So just to have a bit of it helps massively. It helps you get over your own cynicisms or fears of the future. Where is my place in the future? And I say this a lot with this exponential age theme about AI and technologies and how they're all combining, blockchain being part of it, into this kind of ridiculous exponential world. And people are terrified. None of us know where it's going to go. So I said, well, you might as well make money from it, from your own demise. If the robots are going to take over the world and the AI, you might as well make some money from it first. So then when they do take over the world, you can sit there smoking cigars and a glass of champagne, watching it all happen. But the point, again, is the same. It's like, if you make a small investment, it takes that fear away because now you're actually involved in it and you get to understand it. And, hopefully, if the trends continue, you make money from it as well. And you make money from your fears. That's kind of nice. Most people do that by buying puts. But in this, it's actually buying the calls.